Hey everyone, this week we're going to be looking at some seed calculations and just doing some comparisons to the seed that we have versus some published standards and some of the information we get from the seed viability records that we get from the source of our seeds. And the reason we do this is because in a nursery setting, we may be tasked with growing hundreds of thousands to millions of trees, and no one is going to count that many seeds for us. You're never going to find someone to do that. We don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. So instead, we're going to use some weights of easy to count numbers of seeds and then do some calculations, and that will allow us to order the correct amount of seeds in kilograms to grow all of the seedlings that we need to grow in the greenhouse. So today we're going to be comparing two species of seeds. We've got white pine seeds and we've got jack pine seeds. Both of these are good native tree species, and they're a good comparison because they're so very different. So the white pine seeds are so much larger than the jack pine. And while we're talking about jack pine, they do just have an interesting characteristic. So jack pine is what's known as a serotinous species, which means that it needs fire or heat to open. So this is what the cone looks like just naturally, and the seeds are housed within there and they're not accessible. So they can't just fall out and drop to the ground and start germinating. What happens in nature is we have something like a forest fire, and that causes the pine cone to open up, and then within that, you might be able to shake this, and there's our seeds with the seed wing and everything on top of it. So we can mimic this process. I've done it in the microwave. Most people do it in an oven because microwaving seeds is weird. But then when it's done in a professional facility, they put it through a dewinging process and clean it up. And then when we order seeds from a reputable source, they come fully ready to go. So this is what we end up with. So for the purposes of our assignment, what we've done is we've counted out 3 groups of 100 seeds of each of our species. We're going to weigh those, and with the weights of those, we can start to fill in the table, and then we can compare our numbers to published averages to make sure that our seeds that we've received are good, they're within the acceptable range, and then we can do some calculations to figure out exactly how many seeds we need to order to fulfill our order or what's been asked of us. So we're just going to zero our scale. Okay, we're good to go. We're going to start with the jack pine, and we've counted out 100, but we're going to keep the same plate on the scale here, and that's just for consistency. So we'll dump our 100 in there, and there we go. There's our number for the first weight of jack pine seeds. And we'll dump that out, zero it again, and there we've got 0.3 grams again for our weight. So number 3 for jack pine is pretty consistent. So those seeds being fairly small, counting out 100 of them usually gets us to about the same amount when we're measuring to 1 decimal place. Then we've got our white pine. So 100 white pine seeds, exactly the same amount of seeds, but because they're so much larger, our weight is quite a bit different. So there's your first weight for the white pine. Weight number 2 for white pine. Okay. And weight number 3. Okay, here we go. So you can use those numbers. You can go with 1.9 on that one. You can use those numbers to fill in table 1, and then use your calculations on your lab sheet, as well as the seed viability information and the published standards, all on your lab handout, to complete the assignment for your seed calculations.